CRM was supposed to improve customer relationships. Instead, it's shorthand for Customer Rage Machine. Your CRM can't explain why a customer's package took 5 detours? Reboot your inner peace and scream into a pillow. It's okay. On the ServiceNow AI platform, CRM stands for something better. AI agents don't just track issues, they resolve them, transforming the entire customer experience. So breathe in and breathe out. Bad CRM was then. This is ServiceNow.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are the Podcast. It's Gav and you join us on the back of a thrilling encounter at the MKM Stadium between Sunderland and Hull, which ended in another defeat in pre-season. But look, we're going to talk about why that doesn't particularly matter and plenty more. And we'll get into the finer details of the performance and the things that we kind of liked and kind of didn't like, because I have two lovely young men with me tonight. And first up, it's Ant, who's not been on in a little while. Hello, mate.
Hello, yeah. Now, well, it feels like it's been a little while, but it's because we do these every day. It's probably only been a week. But,
Yeah.
all's good,
Well,
all's good, though, man.
Yeah, you're right, mate. Well, given the rate at which these get banged out, you're very right. Also with us is Bomber, work husband Bomber. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Nice to be back. Yeah, probably the opposite end of the scale to Ant, because I think I've been on every podcast for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, if people can hear in my voice, I sound a little bit ropey. It's not party related. You know what I mean? I was away for the weekend. I went to see Oasis. I've been to a wedding as well. So I'm not fragile or anything. I'm just full of cold. So if I sound a little bit sad and depressed, that's why. And I've got my Barry White voice on again, which I had on a few weeks ago, and that was alcohol related. But we'll leave that one there. Anyway, Sunderland, Hull, and I mean, you just said before we started the call there that, you know, up until the subs were made, you felt like it was okay. And I kind of agree with you. You know, there were aspects of it which were fine. I just struggle to get really annoyed by pre-season. You can see what the lay of the land is. I mean, at the weekend, Hearts, I mean, they'd already played 4 competitive games before we played them. So it shouldn't have been anyone's surprise that they were fitter, a bit stronger, a bit sharper than us. And then tonight, Hull are a little bit ahead of us. So, and then we got 70 minutes in or whatever it was and changed the team around. And that team, even the one that started, that's not going to be the team which begins the season. I mean, most of them players probably will play a part. But I don't know about you. I struggle to get really too pissed off about it. And we'll get into the fineries of it in a minute. But yeah. I won't be losing my mind over a loss in pre-season.
No, God knows. You know, if anyone is, then just cast your mind back last year when we got beat off Bradford round about this time last year, because it was on a Tuesday night, sorry. You know what, like, again, you know, up until the 70th minute when all the subs came on, it was fine. You know, it was, you know, we scored a nice goal, didn't we? Adingra getting off the mark, which was nice. Good play by Talbi. We conceded a daft goal, didn't we? Which, that's probably the only thing I'm a little bit like it's been about 2 or 3 daft goals now that we've conceded in pre-season. That's something that I think we probably do need to address, you know, just again, but that'll be all right. And you know what it is? This is the thing about pre-season, Gab. When you start pre-season, I used to play like under 18s, county under 18s football, stuff like that. The first few games was just, you know, getting your fitness in, what we did over at Lisbon. Then, you know, you play a couple of like competitive games against teams ahead of, which we've just done there now, and then you step it up a bit. And I think you'll start seeing the step up in the Real Vallecanos, the better games where, you know, he probably looks to play just his first 11 and doesn't make as many subs. So, you know, but for that 70 minutes, I thought it was all right. I thought we played some nice stuff. We, you know, played some, like I say, I thought Siddiqui and Diarra looked very good. I like the look with them too. And yeah, I thought it was Talbi's best game for us. Thought he looks all right. Looked all right tonight. I think the last couple of games he looked a little bit rabbit in headlights, stuff like that. But nah, I've got no issues at all, really. You know, the issues that they're crying out for us, isn't there? We need some defenders. We probably need another striker. And if Patterson's still not fit, we probably need another goalkeeper. Well, that's there. That's, we could have said that at heart. It's rinse and repeat, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously you're writing the piece for the site, Bomber, the talking point. So go on then. What were the key things to pick out from that? Do you think?
So, like, it's a difficult one. Like you said, I'm writing it. Well, I was writing it before I came on to record, and I'm trying to get a balance between putting things into perspective, because you're quite right. The game in itself doesn't really matter. I think it was, we were a little bit poor throughout a bit earlier in the second half, and the only thing I think is, and I'm trying to mitigate against on the piece that I'm writing, is my surprise at the starting lineup that we went as strong as we did. I was expecting to see the likes of Lavery and Augustini and Abdullahi start tonight, and it really be kind of a last chance for those to impress before some of their short-term futures get decided in the next week or so. So I was really surprised to see effectively what is our strongest starting 11 currently with what we got available. But with that comes expectation. You know, you're away to a team that survived relegation to League One on goal difference last season with all these new signings that we're all excited about. And it breeds an air of expectation that we were probably going to put 3 or 4 past Hull tonight, and we were going to look brilliant, and Adingra was going to score, and Mayenda was going to score, and we'd be talking about that instead. But that hasn't happened. I think rinse and repeat of hearts is a very good way of describing it, Ant, because, you know, we're again playing a team. Championship season starts a week Saturday. You know, Premier League starts the following week. So for all intents and purposes, Hull are ahead of us, and that is a little bit of an equaliser, I guess. You know, a Tuesday night away at Hull, who, you know, have got one more game before their season really starts, and they'll want to get off to a positive start for their new manager, etc. But one of the things that I did want to make sure that I hit home is that, as Ant again said, I think Talbi and Adingra showed some real promise. It was that first half in particular. You know, Talbi assisted for Adingra's goal, and I think Adingra in particular looked a lot more threatening on the ball, a lot more positive, a lot more willing to get past the fullback. And Talbi looked a lot more confident as well. Now, whether that's the level of opposition, potentially, you could make an argument for that, but I wouldn't say Hull were necessarily any better than Hearts. So you can see things are growing, you can see things are developing there, and if it carries on at the rate at which we're seeing it, come West Ham in 3 friendlies time, we should be there or thereabouts. Now, there's definite work to do. And one of the things that I've made sure I've mentioned is that defensively we are still a bit all over the place. I know it's square pegs and round holes for some people. You know, like Harrison Jones is never going to play professionally as a left back or a career left back. And Jensen's still coming back into some sort of form and fitness. So there's still definitely some work to do there.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is that we're not coming away from defeats, let's say, in pre-season where there's new questions arising. Like, we all know we need a goalkeeper. We all know we need a centre-half. We all know that Ronaldo needs to probably start playing some games soon. If the league started tomorrow, I can guarantee you that Wilson Isidore, Ronaldo, Xhaka, who's about to be announced at any minute, it seems, these players would be available and it would be a different looking team. So, and we aren't coming away from this going, bloody hell, we need to sign X, we need to sign Y, or we look really weak there. They know. And the manager's talked about this, and the manager has, he's not thick, and none of them are thick. They know exactly what Sunderland needs. So, I just struggle to really get too worried and concerned about things like that. It isn't bothering us at the minute. And if you kind of fire your mind back to, not just the start of last season, where we look completely different in the real games as opposed to what we did in the pre-season games. Also, the end of last season, where we did treat it like pre-season, and the attitude and the mentality and the way that they look after the players and everything was very, very different in the final 5 league games as it was to the playoffs. And it'll be the same this time. You know, we could lose the next 3 for all I care. All I'm bothered about is, are we ready for West Ham? And I'm sure that there will be. So, you can't read too much into these performances, but there are things that we do come away from this and enjoy as well. Like, you mentioned there, I really, really liked how Talbi played. Thought that was, because again, and this annoys us, I've seen some people on like social media and that give, no, he's shite, he's this, he's not, blah, blah, blah. I just think, oh, yeah, man, it's a fucking pre-season game, get over it.
Mm.
So it was nice to at least see him have a decent game because, we haven't signed a complete dud yet. We've signed a lad who's got a lot of talent. I think
it was as positive as he's been on the ball.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and then also on top of that, you think about the daft mistake that Lafay made for the goal.
I blame Seal for
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Seal told him a hospital pass with 3 players around.
He did, but I'm not expecting him to be doing stuff like that in the Premier League. He tried to score every time he had a free kick. I'm pretty sure he's not going to do that in the Premier League. We're going to be trying to knock balls into areas where we've practiced on the training ground and things like that. So it's not it's not an appropriate reflection of what you will see in a competitive game. But yeah, like I say, there were aspects of it which were okay. I mean, the goal was a nice goal. I think you're right. It's good to see that there's partnerships building. It's good to see that, because we signed these players for a lot of money, you're expecting some sort of connection to be formed, or at least an idea of what's going to be formed. And for me, Diarra, Siddiqui, Lafay, I mean, that looks really good. And when I don't want to talk too much about Xhaka because there'll be plenty of opportunity to do that in the coming days. But when you think about that trio and then you think about Granit Xhaka as well, it's very, very easy to see what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a team which is solid in the middle. And instantly when you look at the substitutions that were made and you see the players who come on and replace them, unfortunately, they're not as good. And we're not going to be, replacing our entire midfield in a Premier League game after 70 minutes. So, yeah, look, the goal bomber, though, we'll quickly grab your thoughts on that. It was a nice finish, wasn't it? It was a good move from Talbi. And just again on Talbi, he put 2 or 3 really dangerous balls into good areas, I thought. So it was, he's got himself an assist and is creating good chances. But the assist was fantastic. And it was a lovely goal from Adingra too.
Yeah, it was a very good finish. It's come at him. It pretty much hit it first time, and he's found as far in the corner as Tommy Watson did. But the assist, I think, is probably more important for Talbi than the goal will be for Adingra. It was quite clear in the matches that he's featured so far that he was perhaps lacking confidence is probably not the right phrase, but I can't think of a better way of putting it because he's obviously a confident young professional footballer, but it felt like he was being safe is probably the better word to describe it. Whereas today or last night, he was happy to take a few more risks, and it paid off for him because he had, like you said, he had some really nice touches, few tiny little drag backs and a couple of Cruyff turns in there as well. And it was a good run and a good little piece of vision to play that square ball through to Adingra at the right pace and at the right point at which he could hit it first time and find that corner. So yeah, that in particular was good to see. And the other thing you mentioned about that midfield 3, and I know we've talked about that midfield 3 at pretty much every opportunity that we can. But just our ability to win that ball back, and Enzo Lafay in particular is so underrated defensively. His ability to get in between the ball and an opposition player and just nick it back, even if he's just getting a toe onto it, to knock it back to the likes of Siddiqui and Diarra. But those 3, and you add, like you say, you add Xhaka into that mix. Our ability to win the ball back in the middle is gonna save us points over the course of the season for sure.
Yeah. And as the game wore on, again, we made subs, and it did make a difference to the result in the end because it was a different team on the pitch, and we conceded a sloppy goal. I mean, we'll quickly talk about the first one before there, and Lafay gets a hospital pass from Sealed. He knocks into a dangerous area. It's actually quite a good finish, actually. And it's very fortunate how he gets it, but it is a decent finish. But the second one, it was like men against boys, wasn't it? Physically adept players just muscling kids off the ball. But then the the two more experienced players in the mix, who were Dan Neil and Huggins, were nowhere really near it. So how much can you quibble over that? Really?
Do you know what you can start it though from the attack that we were on, where Neil does really, really well, gets past a couple of defenders. Roberts then takes it off him and decides he just wants to run at defenders, and which just sums Paddy Roberts up. Champions League player until he gets in the box, then he's Sunderland. And then they go up and score. You're not expecting Jensen Jones to outmuscle, like it was Casey Palmer, who outmuscled them. Who's a big, strong lad, isn't he? You know what I mean? And it was a nice finish from Joseph, to be fair, I thought he looked all right for Hull. And just a quick one on Hull, I thought, to be honest, I know we're on about, the men against boys stuff this side. I thought all the way through the game, they played some nice stuff. They looked like an all right side this year, so hopefully they improved from last year. But yeah, I was disappointed with Huggins, because you just got to go across there, and try and lower the angle down as quickly as you can. He just makes it too easy, and it's a simple finish, really. You can have a pop at Muro. You want to be beaten too close to his centre, but it's a good finish for me. And it's just one of them. It happened. Them things happen. You see them every year in the FA Cup or whatever, where the big strong units are playing kids, and they're just too big for them to play more football on them. It'd be a good learning experience for them lads who've come on and played 20 minutes against, like I say, decent side, I thought, tonight. So and Chiterio playing right back was worth the $6.99 alone to put well on. He's a winger. So fair play to him, but again, it's just I'm totally in the same mindset as you, Gav. I really couldn't give a shit, to be honest.
Well, I think that's a good point, though, that it has been a good learning experience, and for some of these young kids to be around the first team. Mm-hmm. And I think, there will be part of the squad on Saturday, but it was a point that was made earlier. I think we're probably going to ramp it up a bit now. Yeah. Especially in front of home fans. It's going to be very different, Bomber, isn't it, when we play at the weekend?
Yeah, it will be. And I think I said on the preview, or it might have been even on the Hearts reaction, that I see this as kind of the last, the whole game, that is, as kind of the last game before things, quote unquote, get serious in terms of our preparation for the season. I think that's the last time we'll see Lafi, Siddiqui and Diarra all go off at the same time. It's probably the last time we'll see a number of the players that came on for that last 20 minutes. Like you said, you mentioned a number of names there, and quite a few of those will be back down with the 21s or 23s or out on loan at lower league clubs. And like you said, if the likes of people like Ronaldo are going to be ready for the start of the season, if there's any anticipation that he starts at West Ham, he's going to need to play at least 45 minutes in each of those last two games, or three games, but the one's day after the other, isn't it? So you're not going to expect necessarily people to play in both of them. So yeah, I think things start to get real now, and I think if we go into Saturday and the following Saturday having the same conversations, I might start being a little bit more concerned and a little bit more worried. But, such as our transfer business this season, we'll probably sign another 4 players between now and the time we play Real Betis. And we'll be, we'll have had the Xhaka scarf pick, and we'll all be happy again. There'll be a keeper coming in and a centre back, and Lucimi will be done, and we'll have something. We'll all be hyper again.
Do you know what, as well? It would be so easy as well. Sorry to jump in there, Gal. It's so easy as well there. You could have brought in, Abdullah Bar or Jan Pavida or whatever to come on and play 20 minutes. But it's obviously, it's so obvious the fact that they're not going to be anywhere near this first team. You might as well give, the likes of, Abdullah, Triog and Sui, who all came on there, give them minutes. And like I say, it's all part of their development. So I'm really not asked at all. And if you're looking at in a few years' time where Abdullah is going to be, a second or third striker for us in fair play. This is the games where he's got to play. So it's one of them, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And like Bomber kind of touched on there, once that Granit Xhaka announcement comes, and so nobody's going to care about this whole game. So we will move on very swiftly from it, I'm sure. And I think if you kind of just boil it down to what it actually is, it was another 90 minutes of football in the legs for the players who played. Yes, we want to win every game. I'm not sitting here saying I don't care that, Sunderland lose a game. I still watch the game and get into it and celebrate. Like I celebrated Adingra's goal just as much as I would if it was a proper game, So, there are elements to what I say that's pretty hypocritical, because I do still enjoy seeing good football and seeing the goals and celebrating and stuff. But look, we as a fitness exercise, it worked. The new players got to play together a little bit more. I'd be worried if we played West Ham and that was the starting 11, but it's not going to be. So let's try and pick out the positives, of which there weren't many, but there were some, and move on very quickly to Saturday, which I think will be a more sort of telling occasion, and we can ramp things up a little bit. I mean, technically, there are 2 proper games left, because that Friday game in Germany, you're going to expect that to be, is it Saturday? I can't remember now.
It's Saturday, isn't it? Saturday, and then
Yeah.
Sunday's Real Vallecano, isn't it?
Yeah. So the game in Germany is probably going to be a second string. They're not going to play the best team twice in 2 days. Just isn't going to happen. So really, you're probably going to see as close to the best team as we can get on Saturday coming, and then again the following Saturday, I would say. So yeah, kind of remember that. That's what I would say to people. Let's just remember that when we think about this game. Like I said, Granit Xhaka is going to be signing soon. We're going to be hearing a lot more about that. We've talked a lot about it already, I know, but I mean, you can't help but get excited about that. So it'll certainly, if anybody is worried and a bit pissed off. I mean, if you went all that way to Hull, as I was supposed to be before I, decided to do me back and get a cold and whatever else, I'd probably be a little bit more annoyed that I'd went all that way on a Tuesday night to watch us lose. But yeah, look, we'll move on.
Fault for going to Hull on a Tuesday night, have to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, I gave up my ticket earlier today, and took like a wise decision now. Yeah, I mean, Xhaka's probably going to take the edge off, and then we'll have plenty more coming up on the pod feeds this week, and we'll build up to that game at the weekend. And also just want to make sure that, anyone listening to this, if you're a sadist and you're up this late listening, because it is a late upload, first thing in the morning, we will have a podcast with Keith Downey of Sky Sports, who hasn't been on anything Rotor Report related pretty much since we were in the Premier League last. So it's been good to catch up with Keith, and he's been at the front and centre of everything when it comes to Sunderland transfer business over the summer, even filming from the runway as the private jets land into Sunderland North Airport. And he's
making friends with me outside the stadium. I like.
yes, of course. And you were Keith had an interview on the news, didn't you, a couple of weeks ago? So Keith Downey will be on the pod as you probably listen to this, or if not, it will be a couple hours later. That goes up around 6:15 in the morning, and that's a fascinating chat with him. So make sure you catch up with that. We'll be back with more pods through the week. I probably won't sound as croaky as this, so thank you very much for putting up with me sounding poorly. But that is the commitment that we've got to do in these podcasts. I'll even turn it when I'm dropping a bit. Cheers, Bomber. Thanks very much, mate, and thanks for propping things up while I've been away over the weekend. I do appreciate it. You've kept it going while the pre-season defeats have been flowing. So do appreciate it, mate.
No problem, mate. No problem at all.
And cheers, and thanks for jumping back on, mate.
No worries at all. Thank you.
It's very late, so go get your bed, mate. Thank you to the listeners. Thanks for joining us. Like I say, we'll be back with more over the coming weeks, so make sure you get subscribed if you're not already to Howie the Podcast. We'll see you later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.